We are moving into 3.1, which is quadratics. So let's do a little review. Well, for one, a quadratic, remember, is the, yx squared, y equals x squared. Okay, and it's the parabola. We have been solving for the past several weeks. So let's talk about whenever you solve, how we can solve. So we're going to start with completing the square. Let's review that. So if you feel comfortable with completing the square, go ahead and do an example 1 and 2, hit pause, and then come back and make sure we are on the same page. So here I go. So I move it over. Then I do the negative b over 2 squared. So that would be 1. So whatever I do to one side, I have to do the other. And that's plus. So then this is x plus 1 squared equals 7. Then I take the square root. And I get x plus 1 equals plus minus square root of 7. Subtract the 1. X equals negative 1 plus minus square root of 7. So this is my solution. And it's going to be a decimal if we were to work it out. But it does have two solutions because you have the plus minus there. Okay, let's do the next one. So this is negative b over a. So negative 1 over 2 squared, which gives us positive 1/4. So that's what I have to add to both sides. It's not negative. I don't know why I'm doing negative. Sorry, guys. That should be positive. It's just b divided by 2. Okay, so then this comes out to x plus 1/2 squared equals, what do we have? 7. So that'd be times 4 times 4. 28 plus 1, so it's 29 over 4. Then we take the square root of both sides. So these are ugly fractions, but that's okay. We can still do it. We're not going to be scared of no fractions. Okay, and then subtract the 1/2. Oh, but before I do that, I really want to rationalize this denominator. So let's go ahead and write this negative 1/2 plus minus. This is square root of 29 over square root of 4 is actually 2. So that works out well. And then since I have both the same denominator, I can put these together. And x equals negative 1 plus or minus square root of 29 over 2. So that's my solution. And again, there's two solutions there. Okay, let's go to the next one. 2x squared plus 8x. I'm going to move that other number over, negative 3. Going to factor out that 2, just to simplify it a little bit. Okay, so we would do the 4 over 2, which is 2, squared is 4. Okay, and what I add to both sides is actually, if I were to distribute the 2 times the 4, so I'm actually adding 8. So this is 2. Whenever I factor this, do the square, it equals 5. So now we divide by 2, and we get x plus 2 squared equals 5 over 2, square root, square root. So x plus 2 equals square root of 5 over square root of 2. But we need to rationalize that denominator. So times square root, and subtract the 2. So we get x equals negative 2 plus minus square root of 10 over 2. So again, that's two solutions. Okay, let's go to the last, completing the square. All right, so I'm going to move over that 1. I am going to factor out the 2. So I want to do the b over 2 squared. So that is positive 1. But what I add to the other side is actually the 2 times 1, which is 2, because you have to distribute. Okay, so then we have 2, and this comes out to x, depending on what this is, it's negative 1. X minus 1 squared equals positive 1. All right, let's keep on working this out. I'm going to divide by 2. I get x minus 1 squared equals 1 over 2. Take the square root. X minus 1 equals square root of 1. Oh, plus minus square root of 1 over square root of 2. I want to rationalize that denominator, so I'm going to multiply by square root of 2, square root of 2. I'm also going to move this guy over. So I get x equals 1 plus minus square root of 2 over 2. And we leave it just like that. We don't have a common denominator, so we don't add them together or anything like that. Okay, let's look at now our section. So we're in 3.1. We are looking at our quadratic functions. This is our standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c. When it's in that standard form, we can find the vertex. So our vertex is the either highest or lowest point, depending on which way it faces, okay? So this is called our vertex, and so is this. So that is an important point for us. So we found solutions, which is our x-intercepts. Now we're finding vertex, which is where it changes direction. So 3.1a is going to focus on standard form and finding the vertex from that standard form. So to find the x value of the vertex, we do negative b over 2a. To find the y value of the vertex, which is, remember, y is the same thing as f of x, we plug in the x value and find the y. Okay, so we're not going to focus on vertex form right now. That's going to be 3.1b. Okay, so we'll come back to that tomorrow. So on each one of these, we are going to describe the graph, identify the vertex, and x-intercepts. So one thing I want you to pay attention to is what that leading coefficient sign is. That's a negative, so it's going to be a reflection. Remember that? It's going to open downward, open down. Okay, then we want to find our vertex. So we really just need a and b. So a is negative 1 and b is 2. So to find the x value of the vertex, we are going to do negative b over 2a. And that is actually part of the quadratic formula, remember? Negative b, and then it's all over 2a. So this one is going to be negative 2 over 2 times negative 1, which is negative 2 over negative 2, which is positive 1. And then we want to find our our y value. So this is for the x value of our vertex. So for the y value of our vertex, we're going to do f of 1 into the equation. Negative 1 squared plus 2 times 1 plus 5. So that would be negative 1 plus 2 plus 5. This would be 1 plus 5 is 6. So our vertex is 1, 6. That is what this coordinate is. All right, so let's go to the second part of this. We found the vertex and we're finding x-intercepts. So we're factoring. So we're going to factor by completing the square. So negative, I'm going to go ahead and write this down. I'm going to factor out the negative 1. And I'm going to put that 5 on the other side as a negative 5. All right, so I need to find out what I'm putting in that spot. So remember, it's b over 2 squared. So 2 over 2 squared is just 1. So plus 1 here. But when I put it on the other side, I have to do negative 1, the outside number, times 1, which is negative 1. So now I can put negative 1, and this is x plus 1 squared equals negative 6. All right, so we're solving. So divide by negative 1. And I get x plus 1 squared equals positive 6. Take the square root. We have x plus 1 equals plus minus square root of 6. I made a mistake a long time ago. Ugh, sorry guys. Let me go back and fix that. Okay, so what this should have done, whenever I factor out that 1, this should have been minus. 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 All right, because every sign would have changed. All right, so then when I do negative, that would be positive 1, which is fine, but this changes. Okay, so sorry about that. So it is x minus 1. That is the change there. So let me see if I can fix that right there. And that'll help us. Okay, so then this is minus. This one did not stay put. This is minus. Okay, so now we add 1. So x equals 1 plus minus square root of 6. All right, now we did it correctly. Sorry about that at the very beginning when we factor out that negative 1. So we still have 2 solutions. So we did what we needed to do. We found the vertex. We found the x-intercepts. All right, let's go to example 6. Okay, so the leading coefficient sign is positive, so this is going to open up. So we need to find our vertex. So we need to do 4x squared minus 4 equals negative 21. That is to find, so we need to do the vertex. We don't want to do this yet. I'm going to come back to that. How about that? Because that's my vertex. I want to start with my, or that's for the x-intercept. I want to start with my vertex, negative b over 2a. All right, so negative b would be a positive 4 over 2 times 4, which is 4 over 8, which is 1/2. All right, so let's do f of 1/2 and plug that in. So 4 times 1/2 squared minus 4 times 1/2 plus 21. Okay, so work that out. 4 times basically 1/4 is 1. Negative 4 times 1/2 is minus 2 plus 21, which equals 20. So your vertex is 1/2 comma 20. All right, so now let's come back over here and do our completing the square. So I want to do b over 2 squared, which is negative 2 squared, which is positive 4. Okay, so that's what's going to go on that side. If I do it that way, but what I could actually do is factor this out first. Whenever I factor it out, that becomes just x. Okay, so now instead of doing it that, I'm going to do negative 1 divided by 2 squared, which is 1/4. So that's what's going to be added to both sides. but 4 times 1/4 is actually 1, so I'm going to do plus 1 on both sides. All right, so now I have x. I'm going to use this, so minus 1/2 squared equals, then we're going to divide by 4. So I have x minus 1/2 squared equals -5. Now take the square root of both sides. Get x minus 1/2 equals plus minus. I can go ahead and switch that to I squared to 5. Then I add 1/2 to both sides. X equals 1/2 plus minus I squared to 5. Okay, so this is imaginary. So whenever you actually graph it, it's not going to cross the x-axis. So you can write no real solutions. It's imaginary. So it's not going to actually cross the x-axis. Okay, let's go to our last example. All right, so we want to find our vertex first. This negative tells us it's going to open down. Okay, so our vertex, negative b over 2a, negative 16 over 2 times negative 2. So that would be negative 16 over negative 4, so it equals positive 4. So that's the x value of our vertex, so 4 comma. Now plug in that 4. So I'm just plugging it in. Okay, so that's going to be negative 2 times 16, negative 32. 16 times 4 is a 64. And then minus 31. So that's going to end up being 32 minus 31. Negative 32. No, that'd be positive, sorry. Which would be positive 1. (32 minus 31). Okay, so that's a positive 1. So now we are going to write that down. So 4 comma 1. Let's just double check that real quick. I want to go to the calculator. Calculate 84. I'm going to put this in so that we can see our true vertex. Go to y equals, clear that out. So we have negative 2x squared plus 16x minus 31. Okay, so it's 4, 1. So let's hit second trace, which is calculate. I want to find, this is the maximum. Left bound, right bound. Let's see, let's try that again. Maximum. Okay, left bound. Okay, here's my left bound. I see my line now. Left. I need to go right. Enter. Enter. Yep. 4, 1 is the vertex. All right. So let's go back here and let's do our solutions now. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out the negative 2. Then we have x squared minus 8x equals, that 31 moves to the other side, so it's positive 31. Okay, and then I'm going to do the negative 8 divided by 2, square it. So that is negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, so what I add to the other side is negative 2 times 16, so that's minus the 32. Okay, so then this is negative 2, and this is, it comes from here, minus 4. Minus 4 squared equals negative 1. We got to solve it. So start with dividing by the negative 2. So this is x minus 4 squared equals, negative divided by a negative is a positive. Now take the square root of both sides. I get x minus 4. I guess I really don't need the parentheses, so I'm going to take that off. X minus 4 equals square root of 1 over square root of 2. Rationalize that denominator, so multiply by square root of 2 on top and bottom. And also move the 4 over. And we have the plus minus. So x equals plus minus, well, 4 plus minus square root of 2 over 2. And we can leave it like that. So we have the two solutions. All right, so make sure that we're ready to do these two problems in class.